You live with a chronic illness like fibromyalgia, and suddenly there's a change that just drops on you and everything falls apart. You're fatigued, you're in pain, you don't know how to get through it, you can't focus. Well, that happened to me today. And even though I've lived with fibromyalgia for 25 years, I still fell apart a little. So I'm going to tell you how I get through it in case there's something here that can help you as well. I'll tell you what happened today in a moment, but first, why does change affect us so much when we've got a chronic illness? Well, when you're living with a chronic illness, your days can be very unpredictable. So you're already on an insecure footing or foundation. And with that can come anxiety. So our mental health gets affected. And I've not met anyone yet whose mental health hasn't been affected by chronic illness or a long-term condition. And we have that constant fight or flight happening to us anyway. Even if we do manage to calm it down, when something suddenly happens and changes our whole day or our whole week, then it brings up all that strong fight or flight again. In conditions like fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, we tend to have some brain inflammation, which is being researched at the moment. But brain inflammation is also linked to anxiety. So it's one of the things that's known to generate anxiety. It's already stressful for us. And then when we hit a sudden change where everything is suddenly different from what we were expecting, then that can be really hard for us to handle. And it can also trigger a flare for us and trigger our symptoms. So I normally try to plan for change. So if I know an event is coming up, I'll make sure it's happening. But sometimes we can't plan for change. That's just life. And a sudden change is the most difficult for us to cope with. That happened to me today. What happened was, and it seems like something really small, it doesn't seem like such a big deal, but I planned out my week. I knew what I was going to be doing each day, and I was quite happy about it because I thought, great, I can make a video, I can get it scheduled, and I can do it without putting too much pressure on myself. I've got the entire week. Then yesterday, the internet was out. It was completely off from the afternoon onwards, and today I've woken up expecting it to be back, and it's still off. And that might not be too much of a big deal to most people, but I have an online business, so it can be quite difficult. And also when I had planned my workout to spread it out over the week so that I didn't have too much to do on any one day, this has really thrown a spanner in the works. And straight away I felt this pressure rise inside me, and I felt this anger, this panic, this fear coming up. And that's why I got on this video today, to really just talk about what happens to us when we experience one of these sudden changes. And I'm actually going through it right now. So for me, obviously my thinking came into that. I was thinking, oh gosh, I had such a good week planned, and now there's going to be pressure on me later in the week to get a video out, and I'm going to have to rush things. I might have to do more hours than is comfortable for me. Again, my son always reminds me this is my own pressure because I put my own deadlines on myself, so I don't need to. If I don't get a video out, I'd be very disappointed, but it's not the end of the world. However, I had a plan and I wanted to stick to that, and planning is part of something that keeps me well and keeps me grounded. So when I started feeling this pressure rise within me, I then started feeling pain in my hands. And that's when I thought, oh no, this is not good. And within another minute or two, my head was hurting. And then my eyes began to close and I became extremely fatigued. And that was simply from my stress system being activated. I felt angry. I felt disappointed. I felt unsafe because what's going to happen now? I was imagining all this pressure on me later on in the week. I was imagining my channel going downhill because I hadn't posted this one week, or because of having these issues. I didn't know when things would be back to normal. So your thoughts do have a part to play on it. But even if I wasn't thinking those things, I think I still would have had this feeling rising within me. And this can happen whatever the change is. It can be something what we might think of as small, like I was going to go shopping today because there was a few things I actually needed, and then suddenly something changed and you couldn't do that. Okay, so now your brain's thinking, well, what am I going to do? I really need those things. How am I going to handle it? And then just that thought, that little bit of anxiety about it can start off all your symptoms and cause a flare. So when this happens, what do I do about it? The first thing is I have to spot it and I have to acknowledge it. And I literally said to myself, oh my gosh, I'm panicking. My heart is racing. What's going on? My hands are beginning to hurt. My head's beginning to hurt. I'm feeling really tired. I can't focus. I was wandering from room to room, forgetting why I'd gone into that room. And I think part of that was just the fatigue that had instantly been caused. After acknowledging it for yourself, the first immediate thing is to express it. Now, I could have written this down in a journal and I would have written down exactly what I've just said to you. I feel like I'm panicking. I feel unsure of what's coming next. I don't know how my week's going to go. My hands hurt, my head hurts. I'm feeling really tired. So I would have gone through all of that and written it down in my journal to express it. Luckily for me, my husband is home today, so I just went and talked to him. I've also used things like ChatGPT to talk to, and it's really good at grounding me again. I know AI isn't ideal, but sometimes if that's all you've got nearby you, it's a really good tool to use. And I hear a large percentage of people are using things like ChatGPT for helping them with their mental health. And personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the more choices we have for tools, the better. So the first thing I would have done is actually feel my feelings and acknowledge them. Let that panic go through you almost, step into it, because it's not nice, but when we try and push our feelings away, that won't help at all. In fact, our flare will get worse because of that. So the best thing to do is actually just feel it, just for a moment, just think, oh my gosh, what's happening? You know, oh, my heart is racing, this is panic. And actually name the feelings and acknowledge it. And if you can, talk to someone or write it down, express it in some way. The next thing I'll do is stop and take a break, and that's what I did. I stopped, I sat on a chair in the conservatory looking out of the window, and I've got my chamomile tea as well, just to calm my nervous system down a little bit and take a break from it. The thoughts that you have that are running around your head at that point, they might still be negative. Oh, what's going to happen? I'm not sure. What am I going to do? How can I do something about this? Let them just pass. Just sit and try and just breathe and calm yourself down. It doesn't matter if those thoughts are running around your head. Just try and ignore them and carry on. Did I just say keep calm and carry on? That's probably the most British thing I've ever said. But it is about trying to calm your system down. Take a few deep breaths. The third thing you need to do is really make a decision about what is going to happen next once you're feeling a little bit calmer, because the change has happened already. There's nothing we can do about that. So the first thing we can look at, is it something that we can fix? So the first thing I did was I got onto the internet company and said, what's happening, what's going on? And they said, we don't know, somebody's looking at it, we don't know how long it's going to take, which was very helpful. So that didn't work. So I had to think of something else. So then I thought, well, what am I going to do now? And I had a couple of options in front of me. The first was, do something, salvage what you can for a day. Is there anything that you can do on your phone that will still make you think that actually I've achieved something that maybe I was going to do later in the week? The other thing you can do is make a decision to actually stop for the day completely and just have a day off, take a rest. Sometimes we do just have to stop the world and get off for a few minutes because it's not playing the game that we want to play. The other thing I've found that really helps me is having little phrases like, okay, stuff happens. And the other one that I love to use is, it is what it is. And for me, that seems to reduce the panic for a little bit, because I think when there's something going on that you can't do anything about, that phrase, it is what it is, takes it out of your hands almost. It means that you sort of are letting go of it in a way. So having little phrases like that, I sometimes use this too shall pass, but it's whatever is appropriate for the time. And for me today it just is what it is. Now, what am I going to do about it? And that's the decision that we have to make now. And the last thing I'd say that you can do about it is you can look for the opportunity in the situation. So one of the things I did was I worked on something on my phone that I was going to do later in the week, and I did that for a few minutes, but my emotions were still riled up. So I haven't finished my chamomile tea yet, that's probably why. So I looked for the other opportunities, and then my mind started thinking. And this is about taking that nervous energy, that stress energy, and turning it around and making it useful for you. Now, because I'm in a creative occupation, I can actually use it for my creativity. And the first thing that came to mind is, oh my gosh, what is everybody else doing when a sudden change happens like this? Am I the only one feeling this? Does it just happen to me? Does it happen to everyone? And then as I was getting through the day, I thought, I'll do a video about this. And that's why I've just jumped on here. No planning, no preparation. I wrote a couple of bullet points down and I'm just talking to you today. And you can probably tell it's a bit more casual than normal. But I looked for the opportunity, and the opportunity was, this is awful. I feel awful. And I know I feel awful because of my long-term conditions. And this is what I do videos about. So why not just talk about this? Even if I can't think of any solutions in the moment, at least I can talk about how I feel and say, you know what, it's totally normal to feel this way. You know, our lives can be quite risky a lot of times, and I'm always talking about calming ourselves down and calming our nervous systems, but sometimes things that happen like this and we get a sudden shock or a sudden change that is not only inconvenient but can be quite disturbing. I mean, you can imagine the kinds of changes that could happen, and you might be experiencing this as well. So do let me know if it's true for you too. So basically what I'm saying is sudden changes are going to happen in life. And I wanted to give you a few of the ways that I handle it, and I hope that helps you as well. They're always going to be difficult for us, sudden changes. Well, not just difficult, they're going to be horrible whenever they happen to us. Like anybody out there would probably say, oh, okay, that's an issue, what am I going to do about it? But we have to go through this whole anxiety, pain, fatigue cycle before we get to that point where we say, what am I going to do about this? And that's okay. It's all right. It's just part of life. It's part of the things that we have to live with. But hopefully the tips I've given you here in this video today, I've given you a few things that can help calm you down in that moment. But sometimes we need to go through that upset, and we're not going to calm down quickly. But acknowledging your feelings, feeling them, thinking about what you can salvage, what you can do that would work best for you in the moment, whether that's taking some action or cancelling the day altogether and having a rest and recovery day, and doing something that you enjoy to do. Put your favourite movie on again. I always go to movies. That's my favourite thing to do. And then finding, if you can, what the opportunity is in that moment. I mean, I've got a foot massager in my bedroom, which is sitting in a corner, and I always forget about it. But I thought, okay, I'm going to make a little video about this, and then I'm going to put my feet in that foot massager and have a soak and a little pamper just to calm myself down and get over this day. So I hope this helps. If this video has been any good for you, feel free to give it a like. That would be really nice. And comment below. How do you get on with these things? And I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and be well.